Abram and his wife Sarai had no children. When Sarai was 65 years old and Abram 75, God promised Abram a son who would have so many descendants they could not be counted. Abram and Sarai were getting too old to have children, so though it seemed impossible, Abram believed God. 24 years later, they were still waiting. Then God changed their names to Sarah and Abraham. And the next year, when they were 90 and 100 years old, their promised son Isaac was born. Imagine their delight when they finally, after waiting so many years, held their very own baby boy. Abraham loved Isaac so much, he often felt his heart would burst. Now the question became, did Abraham love Isaac more than he loved God? In Genesis 22, we find the answer.
I don't see anyone. Must be God.
Abraham.
Here I am, God.
Take your only son Isaac, the son you love, and go to the land of Moriah.
Sure, no problem.
Go to a special place on one of the mountains there. I will tell you which one.
Okay. And then what?
Then kill Isaac and offer him to me as a whole burnt offering.
What? Seriously?
Abraham's heart sank to the bottom of his stomach. How could God ask such a thing? He thought and he thought. He remembered how God had kept the first part of his promise by giving he and Sarah a child of their own, even though it was humanly impossible. So, if Abraham were to offer him up to God as a burnt offering, how could Isaac ever have any descendants? The second part of God's promise could not possibly come true. Or could it? Then Abraham realized something. God had already shown he could miraculously create Isaac's life, so wouldn't he also have the power to give Isaac's life back to him after he was dead? And wouldn't God have to do that in order to keep the rest of his promise? But would he? Was Abraham willing to trust God even with the life of his only beloved son, Isaac? Early the next day, still wrestling with his many thoughts and feelings, Abraham took 2 servants, Isaac and some wood, on a 3-day journey to the land of Moriah. On the 3rd day, God pointed out the special place to Abraham.
You, servants, stay here with the donkey. My son and I will go over there and worship with the sacrifice. Then we will come back to you. Isaac, please follow me with the wood.
No problem, Dad. Hey, Dad.
Yes, Isaac?
We have the wood and the fire, but where's the lamb to burn for the sacrifice?
God will give us the lamb for the sacrifice, my son.
So Abraham and his son went on together. When they came to the special place God had told him about, there they built an altar and laid the wood on it.
That was hard work. Hey, Dad, there's still no lamb. What? I'm the lamb? But Dad...
With tears in his eyes, Abraham told Isaac what God had commanded him to do 3 days earlier. Isaac was scared, but he listened respectfully as his father explained how, if Isaac would submit to this sacrifice, God would have to raise him from the dead to keep his promise of countless descendants.
Just think, Isaac, you'll be the first person ever to be resurrected from the dead. Are you willing to trust God to do that?
Isaac was young and strong. He could easily have run away or overpowered his father. What would he do?
Yes, I trust him. Let's do it.
Isaac's obedient submission to God and his father was the greatest act of his entire life.
See you again soon, Dad. I love you.
Abraham!
Here I am!
Don't kill your son or hurt him in any way. Now I see that you respect God because you have not kept your son, your only son, from me.
Though he didn't end up having to go through with it, Abraham felt like he had literally received his son back from the dead.
Wow, what a test that was.
No kidding, Dad. Whew, but we passed it.
Yeah!
Suddenly they heard a noise.
What's that?
Help! Somebody! I'm stuck! Help!
Look, Dad, there's a ram caught in a bush.
Abraham approached the caught ram.
Uh-oh!
Abraham freed the ram and offered it as a whole burnt offering to God instead of his son.
Abraham, because you did not keep back your son, your only son, from me, I will surely keep all my promises and more to you, blessing you and your family because you obeyed me.
So Abraham and Isaac returned to the waiting servants, and 3 days later they were all safely home. One day long afterwards, another father would ask his beloved son to also become a sacrifice, and that son too would trust God's promises enough to voluntarily agree to die as a sacrifice on a cross. But that son would really die and really rise on the third day, bringing great blessing on all the world forever.